Welcome to the Lost in History channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. Balham Underground Station after an air raid in 1940. The image shows damage to the infrastructure and people observing the site. This photograph is part of historical archives that record moments of the Second World War period in an informative and documentary way. Second-class menu of the RMS Titanic on April 14, 1912, the last day of its voyage. The image shows the meals planned for the passengers, reflecting eating habits and onboard services at the time. A photographer recording images on the front lines during the First World War between 1914 and 1918. The image shows the professional working to document the events of the period. On July 4, 1917, demonstrators on the streets of Nevsky Prospect in Petrograd, now St. Petersburg, flee moments after the intervention of local authority. The image shows people moving quickly away from the streets during an important political event. Residents of London sheltering in the underground during 1940-1941. The image shows people using the subway system as a safe place during difficult times in the city. Immigrants are inspected upon arrival in New York during the 1920s. The image shows immigration officers, passengers, and luggage, highlighting the entry process into the United States at that time. Colonel Muammar Gaddafi at the Bab Azizia Palace in November 1986. The image shows the Libyan leader in an official moment at the site, representing politics and public life of the time. President John F. Kennedy with the Director of the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, Dr. Wernher von Braun, at Cape Canaveral, Florida, on November 16, 1963. They discuss space programs and rocket development. The image records a historic moment in the advance of space exploration in the United States. A cable worker during the construction of the Empire State Building, photographed by Lewis Hine in 1930. The image shows professionals involved in building one of the most iconic skyscrapers in New York City. Sharon Tate pregnant while looking at baby clothes a few days before 1969. The image shows the actress in a moment of personal life, preparing for the arrival of her child. This photograph is part of historical archives that record the lives of celebrities and family moments in the 20th century. The German submarine IJ-1118 from the First World War ran aground on the beach at Hastings in England in 1919. The image shows the vessel on the sand, recording a curious moment in naval history. This photograph is part of historical archives that document maritime events of the period. The identical twins known as the Maguires, recorded in the Guinness World Records for their size. The image shows the brothers together, highlighting their physical likeness. This photograph is part of historical archives that record people and documented records. In the 1930s, makeup specialist Max Factor created a device called the Beauty Micrometer that supposedly measured facial imperfections. The image shows innovation in cosmetics and beauty technology of the time. Israeli paratroopers gathering near the Western Wall during the retaking of the Old City of Jerusalem in 1967. The image shows the soldiers near an important historic site. This photograph is part of historical archives that record significant moments in the history and culture of Jerusalem. A United States soldier with photos of his girlfriend attached to his helmet in Vietnam in 1968. The image shows personal care and affectionate keepsakes maintained by service members during deployments. This photograph is part of historical archives that record the everyday life of soldiers on missions. A camouflaged road in Finland on June 27, 1941. Objects are hung with ropes to make it difficult for observation towers to see the road. The image is part of historical archives that record transportation and protection strategies during the period. Icebreaker ships push an iceberg to clear a passage in McMurdo Sound, Antarctica, on December 29, 1965. The image shows a navigation operation in frozen waters, ensuring safe passage for vessels. A gentleman in his carriage drawn by zebras in London in 1913. The image shows the unusual transport and the lifestyle of the time. This photograph is part of historical archives that record curiosities and everyday scenes from the early 20th century. Margaret Hamilton, beside the navigation software that she and her team at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology developed for the Apollo program in 1969. The image shows the scientist and her contribution to space exploration. This photograph is part of historical archives that record advances in technology and space missions. Charles Lindbergh receives the Service Cross of the German Eagle in 1938, a medal presented by Hermann Göring on behalf of Adolf Hitler. The image shows Lindbergh, the German officer, and the medal, reflecting diplomatic events and international exchanges of the pre-Second World War period. The wife and children of astronaut Neil Armstrong watched the launch of the Apollo 11 mission on July 16, 1969. The image shows the family witnessing a historic moment in space exploration. A restaurant located at the top of the former World Trade Center in 1980. The image shows the leisure and dining space with a panoramic view of New York City. This photograph is part of historical archives that record architecture, urban life, and leisure experiences of the time. West Germans bringing food and drinks to East German border guards after the fall of the Berlin Wall on November 10, 1989. The image shows celebration and closeness between people on both sides of the former divide. An aerial view of more than 400,000 people gathered at the Woodstock Festival in 1969. The image shows the large crowd spread across the grounds, emphasizing the scale of the event and the mass atmosphere. The baboon Corporal Jackie in the South African Army during the First World War in 1915. The image shows the animal with its own ration kit and logbook, taking part in activities with the soldiers, such as saluting officers and lighting cigarettes. The first Super Bowl in the history of the National Football League was a game between the Green Bay Packers of the National Football League and the Kansas City Chiefs of the American Football League. The image shows the sporting event that marked the beginning of this important American football competition. This photograph is part of historical archives that record significant moments in the sport. Head coach Vince Lombardi helped give Green Bay the nickname Titletown. He led the team to 5 National Football League championships in the 1960s, including the first 2 Super Bowls in 1966 and 1967. The image is part of historical archives that record important moments in American football. Known simply as the catch, Willie Mays' over-the-shoulder basketball catch is considered one of the most famous in the history of baseball. The image records the moment when the player makes the play during an important game. The band queen, from left to right, Brian May, Roger Taylor, Freddie Mercury, and John Deacon, on the set of the Bohemian Rhapsody music video in 1976. The image shows the members during the filming of one of the music videos. The first recorded photograph of the band, the Rolling Stones, in 1963. The image shows the members in their early years of a musical career. This photograph is part of historical archives that document early moments of influential artists in music. Pelé, 17 years old, in Sweden before the 1958 World Cup. The image shows the young player preparing for one of the most important sporting events of the time. This photograph is part of historical archives that record sports and the paths of famous athletes. Princess Diana in 1985 with her customized Ford Escort RS Turbo. The image shows the public figure beside a vehicle that reflected the style and technology of the time. This photograph is part of historical archives that record personalities and striking moments of everyday life. David Bowie in the Soviet Union in 1973. The musician appears during his visit to the country, interacting with fans and the local setting. The image is part of historical archives that record the presence of international artists in different parts of the world. Alexei Pajitnov, Soviet programmer and inventor of the game Tetris in the 1980s. The image shows the creator of the famous electronic game in his work environment. This photograph is part of historical archives that record advances in technology and digital entertainment. Stephen King signing a poster for a fan in 1985. The image shows the writer interacting with admirers and taking part in a public moment. This photograph is part of historical archives that record the careers and presence of renowned authors. Marilyn Monroe, performing on stage in 1954 after the Korean War. The image shows the actress entertaining a large audience of service members, representing culture and entertainment of the time. Sophia Loren, attending the Venice Film Festival in 1955. The actress appears at an international event, showing her style and presence at the time. This photograph is part of historical archives that record important figures in cinema and cultural events. The actress Ava Gardner in 1946. The image shows the artist in a portrait of the time, representing fashion, style, and film culture of the period. This photograph is part of historical archives that record celebrities and entertainment in the 20th century. A Victorian house being transported by boat in Tiburon, California in 1957. The image shows the movement of the residents over the water, highlighting an unusual method of transport for the time. Interior of the pool at the Alcazar Hotel in St. Augustine, Florida, in the 1880s. The image shows the pool with some artificial waterfalls, highlighting the design and amenities of hotels of the time. This photograph is part of historical archives that record 19th century architecture, tourism, and leisure. A transport airplane flies over the pyramids of Egypt in 1943. The image shows the aircraft in flight near historic landmarks. This photograph is part of historical archives that record aviation events and iconic settings of the time. Passenger ships docked at the New York Passenger Ship Terminal, New York City, around 1960. The image shows large vessels ready for passenger transport and maritime commerce. A Marine carries a guitar and an M16 rifle while waiting on a runway to board a flight departing Khe Sanh on February 25, 1968. The image shows the military gear, the musical instrument, and the base setting, reflecting moments of everyday life for soldiers during military operations. American soldiers tend to an injured dog on the Orote Peninsula in 1944. The image shows the service members giving attention and care to the animal. The photograph is part of historical archives that record moments of humanity during periods of military service. How Coca-Cola bottles have changed over the last 120 years. The image shows different bottle designs used over the decades. This photograph is part of historical archives that record the evolution of product and packaging design over time. How 5 megabytes of computer data were stored in 1966, 62,500 punch cards that took 4 days to load. The image shows the data storage and processing technology of the time. Messerschmitt cabine roller, a German microcar from 1954. The image shows the compact vehicle, representing innovation in urban transportation and automotive design of the post-war period. A unicycle being used in the 1920s. The vehicle is a single wheel with a pedal, used for transportation or performances. People of the time appear balancing on it. A woman on a luxury lawnmower with air conditioning in the 1950s. The equipment shows the period's innovations for comfort and practicality in the yard. The image records the lifestyle and technological novelties of that time. A family playing on a homemade 4-person swing in Finland in 1954. The image shows moments of family leisure and creativity in building outdoor toys. An Inuit woman in the air during the traditional blanket toss in Alaska, likely between 1960 and 1970. The image shows the cultural and recreational practice of the period. This photograph is part of historical archives that record traditions and cultural activities of local communities. People taking part in the We Want Beer Parade in New York City on May 14, 1932. The image shows demonstrators gathered in the city streets, advocating the legalization of beverage sales. A mother asking people not to kiss her baby in order to avoid influenza in the 1930s. The image shows health care practices and the prevention of common illnesses of the time. This photograph is part of historical archives that record family care habits and public health. Samurai with sword around 1860. The image shows a traditional Japanese warrior, representing the culture, clothing, and martial practices of the time. This photograph is part of historical archives that record the history, customs, and traditions of Japan in the 19th century. Street performers entertaining in Paris in 1950. The image shows musicians and performers entertaining the public in an urban space, reflecting cultural life and leisure in the city streets. Children learning how to blow their noses correctly at the Hester Howe Vacation School in Toronto, Canada on July 29, 1913. The image shows educational activities focused on hygiene habits and personal care of the time. Some of the earliest Volkswagen Beetle cars produced in West Germany in 1945. The image shows the newly manufactured vehicles on the production line, representing the start of automotive production in the post-war period. A train passing through densely built areas in Kensal Rise, London, England, in March 1921. The image shows the integration of rail transport with residential neighborhoods of the time. This photograph is part of historical archives that record urban infrastructure and transportation in the early 20th century. People building radios at the Emerson factory in 1945. The image shows workers engaged in the production of electronic equipment, representing the development of industry and technology of the time. Larry Bird and Magic Johnson were legendary rivals on the court. Outside the games, they maintained a strong friendship. Larry Bird played for the Boston Celtics, and Magic Johnson played for the Los Angeles Lakers. People watching a Chicago Cubs baseball game outside Wrigley Field in 1932. The image shows fans gathered outside the stadium following the game. This photograph is part of historical archives that record important moments in the sport and in American culture. A couple spending time at the original Muscle Beach in Santa Monica, California, in the 1940s. The image shows people enjoying an outdoor leisure space connected to the practice of physical exercise. Joseph Stalin and Harry S. Truman smiling during the Potsdam Conference in Potsdam, Germany, in 1945. The image shows world leaders gathered in a diplomatic meeting after the end of the Second World War. Miss Vale Queen, 1969. The image shows Mae Musk, 20 years old, who would later become the mother of Elon Musk. This photograph is part of historical archives that record beauty pageants and figures who later became well-known. A fan taking a selfie with Elvis Presley in the 1960s. The image shows the singer interacting with admirers during a public moment. This photograph is part of historical archives that record music icons and fan culture of the time. Swedish troops in 1917 with Husqvarna pistols, image colorized later. The image shows soldiers equipped during exercises or military training of the time. This photograph is part of historical archives that record armed forces and equipment used in the early 20th century. Two young women dressed in the fashion of the time in a park in Paris, France, in 1930. The image shows the style of clothes and accessories worn in the 1930s. This photograph is part of historical archives that record fashion and daily life in European cities. A group of coal miners with clothes soiled from work talk about an imminent coal strike in a local bar in 1912. They appear gathered, sharing drinks and exchanging ideas. The image is part of historical archives that record the life and routine of workers of the time. A Ford Model A on a lubrication lift at a Lubacil shop in 1930. The car is being inspected and receiving maintenance. The image records automotive service practices and vehicle care at that time. Albert Einstein visits the Grand Canyon in 1931. The image shows Einstein within the natural landscape, highlighting the rock formations and the vast scenery of the canyon. Photographs like this document the travels of historical figures. A promotional photograph of Jacksonville, taken in the 1960s, shows the city, its streets, and structures typical of the period. The image highlights the architecture, urban life, and local cultural aspects, reflecting the visual style and atmosphere of American cities in the 1960s. This photograph shows the English actress Lynne Frederick in the 1970s. She was married to the actor Peter Sellers. Later, she married the broadcaster David Frost. Lynne Frederick acted in several films and became known for her work in British cinema. Jayne Mansfield at her home in Los Angeles in the 1960s. The actress appears in her domestic setting, showing part of her lifestyle of the period. The image is part of historical archives that record important figures in entertainment. Wilt the Stilt Chamberlain, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Andre the Giant on the set of the film Conan the Destroyer in 1983. The three appear together during filming. The image is part of historical archives that record moments in cinema and entertainment of the 1980s. Students listening to music during art class in 1957. The image shows students focused on their activities while enjoying the music. This photograph is part of historical archives that record educational and cultural practices of the time. Students at the University of Tehran, Iran, in 1971. The image shows young people in academic activities and moments of social life on the university campus. This photograph is part of historical archives that record education, student life, and university culture of the time. Two Maltese women talking in Malta around 1950. The image shows people in an everyday moment, reflecting the way of life of the time. This photograph is part of historical archives that record scenes of daily life and local culture. Traditional hairstyle of Rwanda in 1923. The image shows the hairstyle worn at the time, reflecting local customs and culture. This photograph is part of historical archives that record traditions and cultural practices. Arnold Schwarzenegger, at 16 years old, in his first bodybuilding competition in 1963. The image shows the young athlete taking part in a sporting event that marked the beginning of his career. Break moments between the filming of the movie 2001, A Space Odyssey in 1965. The image shows actors and crew relaxing on the set. This photograph is part of historical archives that record behind-the-scenes moments of important film productions. An ironic poster celebrating the North Atlantic Treaty Organization in 1989, making humorous references to the member countries. The image shows the use of illustration and satire to comment on political events of the time. Volunteers taking part in a training exercise in Northern Ireland in 1977. The image shows people engaged in preparation activities and the handling of equipment of the time. A smiling young French woman with her cat in 1959. The image shows an everyday moment of affection and companionship between a person and a pet. This photograph is part of historical archives that record daily life and relationships between people and animals at the time. Circus performer Jimmy Armstrong during a smoke break in 1958. The image shows a rest moment behind the scenes of circus performances of the time. This photograph is part of historical archives that record the lives of performers and entertainment in the 20th century. Guests seated at outdoor tables at the Castillito Club, talking while a band performs in Varadero, Cuba in 1946. The image shows moments of leisure, music, and socializing in a touristic setting of the time. With her husband away due to the war, a mother works on the car around 1944. The image shows a woman taking on everyday and mechanical tasks as the family reorganizes during the period. American soldiers drinking Coca-Cola during the Second World War. The image shows break and leisure moments among service members. More than 5 billion bottles were distributed to troops during the conflict. Woman with hair in permanent rollers at a beauty school in 1940. The image shows hair care techniques and professional training of the period. The photograph is part of historical archives that record fashion, beauty, and vocational education in the early 20th century. The real Mrs. Fields, founder of the Mrs. Fields Cookie Company in 1982. The image shows the entrepreneur in a moment of her career, representing innovation and entrepreneurship in the food industry. Al Capone at 19 years old beside his father and uncle in 1917. The image shows a young man with his family, representing moments of personal life before becoming publicly known. The wedding cake of Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip is being decorated in 1947. The image highlights the impressive size of the cake, which weighed 500 pounds and measured 9 feet tall, as well as the detailed work of the confectioners, a process that took 2 weeks to complete. A birthday cake is prepared to celebrate a soldier's 20th birthday in Dodge City, Vietnam in 1967. The image shows the decorated cake, gathered soldiers, and the military base setting, highlighting moments of celebration amid operations. Sir David Attenborough holds and pets a bear cub named Benjamin in 1956. The image shows Attenborough and the cub together, highlighting care and closeness with animal life.